Evening, everybody. Could you just imagine just for a little while that you're in the Caribbean? Thank you very much.
Now, all my life, I'd wanted to be a clown. That was my dream. But you have to dedicate yourself to what you're doing. We can't have sort of people who are half in and half out. We want you to dedicate. You're in or out. So I said, I'm in. Why not take all of me? Oh, yeah. Can't you see I'm no good without you? I said, take my lips.
And now your name's Mr. Timothy Tyler. Is this correct? It is.
Correct.
And
Sorry.
What the hell was that? Out of nowhere.
It suddenly pops out. Sorry.
It just comes flying out. So yeah. So now, actually, I was reading a lot about you the last couple of days, just trying to dig around.
I hope it was all good.
It is good. But let's start off with, before we get into any of that, just who are you and what do you do?
I'm a human being.
Yes. Oh, are you really?
I try not to be too much into technology. I really like people.
Do you really? Well, needless to say, from your art and from what you do for a living, it's obvious that you prefer performing live.
I prefer performing live. I really like being with people and sort of contacting them and I like actually physical contact as well. I'm very tactile.
Yeah. Well, I've noticed that, but I've also, having read up on you, and we'll talk a little bit about that too. But you right now, you work with Teatro Zinzanni?
Correct.
And
in downtown Seattle, in the Lotte Hotel.
Ooh, the Lotte Hotel.
Very swish.
Yes. And how long have you been involved with it? For those who don't know Teatro, why don't you just explain, a little bit about the show, who they are, what they do?
Well, Teatro Zinzanni has been around for now 25 years.
Wow.
And I was actually involved with their very first show.
Were you?
Yes, it was in 1998 in the downtown Seattle on Mercer Street.
Yeah.
And it was in their beautiful, and this is really beautiful, a mirror tent, a Spiegelzelt auf Deutsch.
Say that again?
A Spiegelzelt, that's when I'm speaking in German, auf Deutsch. Spiegel means mirror.
Does it really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
And they were old 1920s, 30s dance halls.
Was that the one? I went to one. It was like a that was downtown.
Yes, beautiful red velvet.
Is it near where the Needle is?
It was there, yes, on Mercer Street.
Yeah, on Mercer. Yeah, I went to that. That was gorgeous.
It was beautiful.
That was one of the...
What we've got in the Lotte Hotel, well, in the building adjacent in the church, is the base of the mirror tent. The floor and the walls are there. They couldn't put the top because of there were balconies around the church that wouldn't allow them to put it up. So they've just got the bottom in, and they're using the beautiful dome of the church to make to finish off the atmosphere.
So continuing on the actual show itself.
Right. So the show is like a variety show with food. In Germany, where I've been doing them for many, many years, they have always a Sternkoch, which is like a hot cook whose name is most important, and Sternkoch. And these people have a very piquant, very well known in Europe, and people go to try to eat the food, and then they see these shows, because there was a man called Hans-Peter Vordarts who set this up. And he
set up the concept
of the food in the mirror tent. He was a cook, a Sternkoch, a 5-Sternkoch in Germany, very well known. And his dream was to present his food with music and dance, and not just food. He wanted to really tantalize all the taste buds.
Sounds almost like a. I'm a huge historian. I love history. So when you mentioned, Blenheim and all that, which we'll talk and chat around about, but the different, princes and queens and kings that, whenever they had, a marriage back then, a queen and a king are going to be married, they have these wild events.
Exactly.
Eating and dining and entertaining. You go on and on. So it almost sounds like a little touch of that in a way.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's decadence.
Yeah.
It's that European 20s, 30s, the world of decadence, the flappers, all that sort of world.
Yeah. So would you consider yours to be... That's not vaudeville, though.
Well, it's difficult to know. Like it's vaudeville, variety, music hall. I don't know what it is. It's a mixture of all those past sort of performance styles.
Yeah, and the right for anybody who hasn't been to Teatro Zanzani again, it's such a cool show because what you have is the people who are serving you and the people who are with you, and you're right in the entertainment. I mean, it's not like, someone like yourself, you're in between acts, you're walking around talking to people, and it all of a sudden it switches from, oh, this is not just some entertainer, this is a guy, a person, still generally in character, but much more approachable. And then if you pull them off a little bit to the side, like even with you or so, they'll break from their person, their stage, and then all of a sudden they'll chat to you a little bit more just personally about themselves.
I personally try not to be personal in the sense of playing two different people. I try to be the same person. So I'm like, when I'm greeting people at the beginning, it's me playing, being my character, and I play my character all the way through.
You do that. I will say that. Even to the moment when when I said to you, "Hey, would you like to come on to the show?" I think it took you a moment to sort of realize that this was not. You didn't respond per se in your character at that time.
No, not at that time.
Then
Because the show was over.
Yeah,
the
something
show
sort
was
of
over.
jarred you, and you're like, no, and then
I can be normal.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
This is actually a question to me, Tim.
Yeah. It was more. This is Tim. Hello, Tim, not Mr. Pee-Pee.
Yes.
It is. And now, swinging back on that. So now here you are, and I see you have a ukulele with you, and you perform on this, I believe, don't you?
In the show, yes.
Yes, you do. And do you care to show us a little bit of that?
I could. I totally go.
If you could. Just...
By the waters of the Caribbean lived a lovely little Latin queen, a reba. In her bathing suit she can be seen, strolling down beside the sea. But her bathing suit never got wet. You see, I love telling stories through songs.
Yes, I can
And this
hear.
one's all about a woman who's actually dressed in her bathing suit and it never gets wet. But then the story, I just sort of, I don't actually do it in this show, but in my own shows I do it. And it ends up, at the end, she climbs up this, everywhere she goes, there's always a little reason why her bathing suit doesn't get wet. But in the last one, she dives from a diving board into a swimming pool. But her bathing suit never got wet. But oh, what a lesson it taught her. What good's a pool without? You guessed it, a bathing suit never got wet. So her bathing suit never got wet. Reba. Thank you very much.
But when you sit, the thing I find so fascinating is that when you watch somebody now, at our age, I look and you think, gee, did this guy just step up on here and just start doing this out of nowhere? Then I start reading about your life and reading from your wonderful intake questionnaire form that you sent into the Mark Halley Show. And I start going through that and just sort of digging through different things. And I find that, wait, now you were born in Tanzania.
Tanganyika when I was there.
Tanganyika.
1956 and 1956 in Tanganyika,
So
East
I'm quite
Africa.
young. I'm 1960. So I'm just a little chip.
You're
I think.
very, very young.
Am I? Aren't I?
You're a chook.
I'm wearing a bathing suit under this.
He's looking very good, I might
Exactly.
say.
As they say, underneath all my clothing, I'm naked. But anyway, no. So you were there, I think, until you were about 12.
I know. I was there until I was 3.
Oh, okay. I thought it was longer than
No,
that.
then I went to England.
Yeah. Okay. Then you went to England. And what provoked
The move.
What got you? Obviously, your parents. Were
Oh no! I decided I would like to be born there, and I lived there all by myself. It's very independent.
Just showed up.
Hello, yes, with the Messiah and all the.
Yeah. So then the family was of English descent.
My father was of English descent. My mother Australian.
Oh, okay.
So what happened is my father and mother met in Australia. My father got his first job in East Africa. He's a geologist.
Oh, really?
And then when he was in East Africa, he sent a message to my mother who said, "Would you marry me?" Her father said to her, "Is it red on the map?" Meaning, was it English? And he said, "Yeah."
Is that what it's red on the map?
Was it red on the map? And yes. So she was allowed to go. So she went out. They got married in Gaeta, in Wanza. And then my brother and sister and I were all born there. And then when I was 3, I'm the youngest, we then went to England.
To Sussex.
To Sussex.
Yes. And then...
Near Brighton, near Haywards Heath.
Ooh. And now you're with... is that the hoi polloi?
Oh, not... Well, yeah, it's not London. It's a little bit south. I mean, the accent from the south is a little bit more, how now, brown cow.
Oh, is it really?
A little bit, yes.
I'm not familiar with all of it. So then you spent your formative years in...
Yes, I was there from 3 until 13, 14.
Okay.
And then we all moved to Australia.
To Australia?
Because my father had another job in Australia.
Wow, as a geologist?
As a geologist.
So that's what's driving you around?
I'm moving because of my father. And my father's father was a geologist, and he was a nomad as well.
Really?
So this nomadic lifestyle was sort of born into me. I was born into it, and therefore performing actually is also an incredibly nomadic lifestyle.
Oh, no, I know. I mean, I watch folks like you or anybody who's moving around. I follow a few of the... maybe not as high end. There's completely off the subject here momentarily. There's a singer who recently died by the name of John Prine. You may not know him, but I traveled and watched him all over, and he passed away at maybe 75 or so. But he traveled constantly singing. Is kind of a folk country singer, lyrical, very pretty songs. But I always just would look at him on stage and think, wow. So you look at his playbill for the year, and he's going, maybe a couple hundred nights a year.
Yeah. Well, I'm doing 6 months in Seattle now. I mean, our contract is 6 months.
Really?
Yeah. So I've been away from home, which is now Montreal, for 6 months. You have to get used to being by yourself and your partner, and I have a child as well. We all have to get used to this sort of a lifestyle, which therefore it builds a person who has this understanding that you can move.
Yeah.
Because I have friends one woman who I know very well, she wanted to be an opera singer. She loved opera singing. She trained and thought she was going to get, be wonderful. She got her first job. She couldn't bear it. She had to go away.
Just because of the travel.
Her travel, she didn't have the things around her. She couldn't cope with being in another environment. Some people find it very difficult to suddenly go into another country, another culture, and live there.
Yeah, you're immersed. It's not like you're just visiting.
No.
For me, having run a business where it was mostly travel, and pardon me, let me get these glasses off. Pardon me, audience. My Lord, I look like a schmuck.
It's just reduced a bit of weight, and here we are. Very nice. Who's this new man? Who is this new man?
But anyway, no. When we were having salespeople, normally we had to travel a lot. I traveled maybe 100 nights a year, maybe 125, and all around the world. Never staying, but generally visiting. 3-4 nights. But you had to have your wife and your children. Everybody had to be realized. Dad packs up and leaves Monday night. He gets back on Friday. That's the way it goes. What you'll find there is when men and women hit about 30 or 31, and they start to find their life getting typically some sort of settling into what they consider to be their life. That's the break point. A lot of men or women will just not want to travel. I'm sure it's like you. But now you get to a place, boom, plop.
For months.
Now you're in Seattle for 6 months.
Yeah.
But you know Seattle.
I know. I've been there. But I go to Europe. I go to, I'm in Germany in a town for 3 months, 4 months.
Really?
So you have to, you have to learn the language. You have to go.
You speak German?
Ja, natürlich.
Ah, really?
Weil ich habe in Deutschland oft gearbeitet. Das ist sicher, wenn ein Mann muss in ein Land arbeiten, du musst die Sprache sprechen.
Well, why wouldn't I? I have no idea what you said, but I'm assuming you're not calling me an asshole.
No, language is most important. I speak French, German, a little bit of Spanish, but because when you work in these foreign countries, and I speak a little Chinese, wherever I've worked, I've always picked up enough of the language to be able to say hello, to get food, to be able to, to be able to survive, and be able to talk to the people.
Yeah, because I've been to China a lot. Now I'm always with somebody who's.
What was
that? What did you just say?
I'm very sorry. I don't speak very well.
Oh, hear. Whatever he said. In fact, say I don't speak any.
Puhao.
Puhao.
Puhao, yeah.
Badly.
Badly.
I always loved when I was traveling in China. The difference between the North and the South always intrigued me, and the accent in the North.
Oh.
I don't know if you ever noticed that in Beijing. It's very guttural. It's kind of like
okay.
rolls out of here. While that's the only thing. I don't know the damn thing about the language, but I could pick up. I just knew the South and the North accent.
Okay.
But now when you're in China, how long you there for 3-4 months?
No. In China, I don't speak Chinese very well because of the fact that I did a variety show I was there for 5 days. It was a cultural exchange between me and Australia and China.
Okay.
And I was the representative in a show.
So now you will then, but you're back to the start of this, right? You mentioned in your what his name was
Michael Wansborough.
Wansborough, because I looked him up last night.
Okay.
And I found a little snapshot of he's hard to find online.
He's now dead.
I presumed he was just by his age, but I was looking. There was some of these old extracts from.
How wonderful! The Mushroom Troop.
Yes, the Mushroom Troop. Well, say the name of that again.
It was actually originally it was called the Magic Mushroom Mime Troop.
Yes, that's why I found it online, and it was this periodical about sort of the history of what was going on, I guess, in Australia at the time in the theater.
He was a wonderful man. I loved him dearly. He changed my life.
I know you said he had such a huge influence on you.
Makes me want to cry.
Does it really? Why was it? What I mean, in your art, which you've shown us once, which is no simple thing, he inspired you enough to really want to throw your life into this.
I had a girlfriend at the time, and I went and did. I didn't know what to do. I went to school, went to this very good school. They would always say, "Oh, Tim's a very nice boy," but we've got no idea what he's going to do.
Wait, Melbourne
Grammar School. It was like the top school of Melbourne.
Fancy. Okay.
Very academic, and I wasn't academic. So I was sort of liked, but they didn't know what to do with me. And so
a fine young man, but what the
hell is he going to do? We have no idea. We don't know where to put him, because this was the career guidance person. So they had no idea. But then I met this woman who was at a place called Melbourne State College doing their music and drama course.
I saw that. You did music and drama. And didn't you have another major in there?
No, and I came up with a Bachelor of Education in Music and Drama. I was very, very good. I actually succeeded. Academically, I wasn't very good, but it was a very practical course, and I did things with snails on microphones.
Oh, is that okay?
With the didgeridoo, I was doing all this experimental music. I was composing things. I was having a lovely time, and I was doing all these plays. And at the time, I was smoking a little bit of marijuana. And
oh, well, really? As I did occasionally at that time, more than a few.
Yes, and luckily, one of the women who was one of the directors in the theatre world, said she wanted me to be Marat Sade in Marat.
I don't know that.
Which was it was a musical. It was beautiful by, I can't think of the name of the person who wrote it, but it was a wonderful show. And she said, "I want you to be it, but you cannot smoke marijuana anymore for this time." And I said, yes, I take this challenge. And so I stopped, and I haven't smoked ever since, actually. She merely made me go, this is because I was smoking a lot of dope. And she said, this is much better for you as a performer. You're going to go somewhere if you, concentrate on what you want to do. Put your brain on the subject.
Yeah, okay.
So I took this challenge, and I was Marat, and it was a wonderful experience. And I then finished the course.
But you were singing in this.
I was singing, I was performing, it was a theatre role. But it was music it was Kurt Weill.
I don't know Kurt Weill.
And it's beautiful music, very well, lovely script. It's all about the French Revolution and Marat. And Marat was in a bath, sort of naked and going mad. And it was a very interesting part to play. And so, then I finished this university course.
I have to go back on this. In a bath.
Yeah.
You mean just like a sauna spa type kind of a place, or in an actual bath, like sitting in the water?
He was in this sort of an asylum,
Oh.
But my character was Marat was in a bath because he was scratching himself continuously. So the only way to sort of ease his pain and maybe calm his neurotic state was to put him in a bath.
And that's who you were.
That's where I was in the bath.
Oh, very fitting having the chance to sit with you. I can see where that would fit in. But now that led with is that how you got in with Mark or Mike?
That's how I got in with Michael once, because I then finished that course. I had this Bachelor of Education. I realized that teaching in schools was not for me at all, because it was actually a Bachelor of Education for secondary schools. I then joined this group called SKIT, which was Schools Community Youth Theatre. And from that, I was performing with them in schools, and Michael Wansbury came along and saw one of these shows we were doing, and he said, would you like to join my troupe? It's the Magic Mushroom Mime Troupe, and we're a clown troupe. Oh. Now, all my life, I'd wanted to be a clown. That was my dream.
Yeah, I read that. Yeah. All your life. So
when
you want to be a...
When I was 6, from about 6, people would say, what do you want to do? I want to be a clown, you know. And I loved observing the world. And sort of in England, I used to observe all the businessmen going off to work with their bowler hats and briefcases. And they'd go down to the station, get on the train. Their wives would be there in the evening. They would she would open the door, he would get in, she would drive her home. All these things, the routines of life, the obsessions of sort of peoples with obsessive, fanatical, sort of routines. And so that to me is what my character, Mr. PP, is sort of about in some ways. He's this very meticulous. He was very prim and proper. That's where the name Mr. PP originally came from.
Prim and proper.
Prim and proper.
Good. Well, we're going to explore Mr. PP some, because he's a big one. He's a big one when we get into this. So now you've met up with
Michael. He said, "Would you like?" And I said, "Yes." And all these tingles. My body, when something feels right, tingles. And this sensation was very strong when I met Michael. When I was working with the group, and SKIT said, "Oh, go and do it them. They're really good," because the SKIT was a bit of a going nowhere gig in some ways. Yeah. But she said, "No, Michael Wansbury is very good. Go with him." So that was 2 of the friends who I was working with. So I said goodbye to them, joined Michael. And all of a sudden, the way he spoke, what he spoke about, to me made total sense. There were other people in the group that he would say these things, and they didn't understand what he was going to talk about. It meant nothing at all. But everything he said to me meant something to me. And as I said, he changed my life. He gave me this. He told me also, you have to be like Lindsay. What was her surname? The woman who told me that she wanted me to be Marat Saad. Lindsay. I can't think. No. But yeah, she told me. We'll get back to it. Maybe she might come back. This was a long time ago. This was in 1974.
Just wait, it'll shake it up.
But so she said to me, I've forgotten even where I was going.
You were going with being with Michael.
Oh yeah,
and playing with him. He finally said, go.
Yes, he said you have to also concentrate. You have to dedicate yourself to what you're doing. We can't have sort of people who are half in and half out. We want you
either in or out.
You're in or out. So I said, I'm in. And so I just started to focus on this, and Mr. PP arrived one evening. We were having a party for the Mushroom Troupe. There was a gathering in town, and I got myself dressed. And it was like being dressed. I put on a little bowler hat, pair of shorts, black jacket.
Yes, yeah, I know.
I
know him
well.
My briefcase.
I got on my unicycle with my umbrella, and I drove into town in Melbourne, downtown Melbourne. When I got to the party,
a unicycle.
A unicycle.
And your shorts.
And my shorts, black jacket, white shirt, little bow tie, white gloves. It was what I'd observed in England all these years ago. Suddenly sort of and I'd gathered them around this house. I don't know where I was living in Melbourne. When I got there, Michael said, "You found him?" And when I came back along the street, then one of the main streets in Melbourne, Lygon Street, I got a police escort. They went woo 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 with their little siren, and I really, everything was going bing bing bing.
And
bing,
you realized
I'm onto something. This is something I have to follow.
And that was this whole.
That was in 1977.
And that would be called, is that visual humor?
Visual humor, I'd say so. But then I became a trickster, because I was a young boy. I was a soccer fanatic.
I read that.
And I was actually invited to be in the junior team of Tottenham Hotspur.
Oh, really?
If anyone knows soccer, yeah.
Yeah. So you were quite good.
So I was very good. I was very dedicated. You see, I have this obsessive quality, which I'm very good at sort of focusing on something. And when I found soccer, and I was very focused, I could play with the ball for, hours and hours.
What position?
I was a forward.
Forward. Oh,
Yeah,
so you're fast.
Yeah, I was a runner. Yeah, I was quite fast.
Wow.
But in reality, I think my body, I'm very long and thin. I don't think I would have probably lasted as a soccer player. Probably, I don't know.
Who knows?
Maybe your body changes. I don't know.
American is American football,
Yes.
but over here soccer becomes, we call soccer,
Right,
we
yeah.
call football.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. I think a lot of Americans thought of soccer as sort of like a gentleman's sport,
Right,
of
and
sorts,
it
but-
was more.
but
It's pretty.
it requires some serious physical thumping
Oh
to
yeah,
play that
absolutely,
game.
absolutely.
So I guess your frame, you're not exactly bulky.
No, not
But-
really.
but-
But maybe I would have become more bulky.
Ooh.
But the gods moved me. The gods moved me over
Shifted
to
me
Australia.
elsewhere.
Yeah.
So now we're moving along this path of,
Right.
of Mr. PP,
Right.
who we ultimately know. Now, you also then there was a fellow by the name of I'll probably bastardize his name in French, but Tati.
Oh yeah,
Tati?
Jacques Tati.
Jacques Tati.
Oh, Jacques
And
Tati.
I looked him up last night.
Monsieur Hulot en vacances.
Yeah.
J'adore cet homme. Il est très très magnifique aussi.
So no, I think he said fantastically, triple fantastic, something to that.
Très très, very very wonderful.
Yeah. So I watched one of his
Which one?
YouTubes.
Which one?
Oh, I can't remember. It was one on. It opened with talking about how American actors today are more just like they weren't using visual to create humor, and then they started showing him on one of the scenes where a front door had broken.
All
and they
right.
were letting somebody into the. Do you know the scene?
Yes, I know the scene.
So
yeah.
maybe you explain it better. The front door breaks.
Breaks.
Right?
He's sort of being the doorman,
Yeah.
and he grabs the handle because it's glass. It all shatters. He grabs the handle, and then every time someone comes in, he opens the door. He just moves his hand as though the door is opening.
Yeah,
It's
and
very wonderful.
Yeah, and it took a minute or two for me to catch on
yeah,
because
well-
I was watching it and I'm like, well, he's just opening the door, and then I realized, no,
There's no door.
There's no door. He's just moving the goal.
No, it's
but the
beautiful.
amount of time that must have taken to plan to keep that, because you can't let that
yeah.
move.
Yeah.
And then he showed another one of somebody on I guess he was sitting on the waves were lapping up on the beach.
All right.
And I think
He's
the
in a
fellow
boat.
was and the little can had to come up perfectly and back and perfectly back, and just watching that little can,
Yes.
moving.
Yeah.
Our listeners probably don't know it, but what was his name again?
Jacques Tati. What I loved about in that scene which you were just described about the boat, that's from one of his films called Monsieur Hulot en vacances. And there's actually this American, which I used to love, this American man who's always on his telephone, always talking very loudly.
Typical.
Typical. And it's just that what he does is he just takes sort of classic characters and just shows you them in his world and how we always are the same character, but the world changes.
Yeah.
And I think it's just an observation of human beings, and that's what Tati for me offers.
Yeah, but it was so interesting in the way that he was the choreography.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
I
it's
guess
all
for
tight.
Yeah, beautifully tight. And so what you see is just this little slapstick thing that comes up.
Mm-hmm.
But when you start to watch it, I was thinking, like, what is mesmerizing me?
Mm-hmm.
What am I? Something makes me want to just keep watching this, and then it is funny.
Absolutely.
It's funny.
Yeah.
Anything.
Anything if you really focus on it and it becomes over the top because it's just repeated and repeated, does have a sense of humor, because it's this person suddenly believes that, like for me, being meticulous, I try when I'm at the beginning of the show, I'm sort of moving things around on people's tables, making sure there's no dust, everything's nicely placed. People from the outside watch, and I don't play to them, but I just play my action. And what that does to me is it makes people start to focus on, well, who is this person? What is he? What's he obsessed about? I mean, there's something that is obviously he's doing, which is very important to him, and it's just sort of training people to start to look at you and observe rather than being told what's funny or anything. It's coming up and saying hello. It's not about that. It's but starting to get people to observe, and that's what when I'm in the beginning of the show, I'm consciously trying to make people observe what I'm doing.
So you're just, I did that, because I'm just like you're dressed rather, eccentrically, but
Slightly
sort of like
eccentrically.
you're kind of like this guy's, and your build, you're long and lean,
Yeah.
so it's kind of like, what is this fellow walking around? What is he
Doing
over
yeah.
there?
What's his function? Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Does he eventually leave?
Yes, yeah, exactly. So all that is about the game of setting people to start to watch. 'Cause my world is watching. Some people's world is talking, but that's not mine. So I am trying to install in this world, and that's where Tati was a master. He was
Yeah.
making films where you watch, and you start to observe what he is wanting you to see. But it takes time. Sometimes it takes a few times before you start to realize.
Well, especially someone as again once Teatro Zanzani, Tim Tyler, and
Thank you,
Mr. PP. That's I love the PP because I had not noticed that at the show. Did they say you're Mr. PP at the show?
I call myself at the beginning. I mean, everyone calls me Mr. PP.
Okay, because I was just watching you for a while and just kind of just doing just what you said, just sort of out of the corner of my eye, enjoying it, but thinking, having been to the show before, I'm thinking, what's his angle in this thing? And I'm a talker. I'm not a watcher. So I have my wife and my daughters like, what's that guy doing over there? Do you see that guy over there? What the hell is he doing? What's he going to do in the show? Knowing the show, I figure somehow he's going to flourish. Having been to the show before, but I had not figured out what you were going to flourish into. And as the show goes on, your skills, which you now have honed over how many years have you worked on that?
Oh, 45 or more. I think I've
45 or
stopped
more years.
counting now. It must be over 45. That's for
I
sure.
know, and that's just fine tuning, and you're constantly fine tuning it.
Constantly. That's my work. I wake up and I sort of do my exercises. I then sometimes get into other worlds, which I do. But no, I basically I'm just keeping myself focused on what I'm trying to do.
Speaking of other worlds, before we go any further,
that's what I do during the
we
day.
can see this. I hope we can see this on the camera. I believe we can. Anybody, if we can. Well, look at me. Tim Tyler. And he does some artwork additionally as a painter.
That's my world during the day.
It's world during the day. And one of these were hanging up at the theater.
Yes,
correct?
Absolutely.
But just so everybody can see them, just in addition to being a performer, I just find this fascinating. These are the sort of things that turn you on inside your head.
I tell stories,
Whoa,
absolutely.
let me
They're all...
I'll just show a few of them.
They're just telling stories. I mean, this one on your right is when I was in Cinque Terre with my family. And it's a little story about decadence. It's a story about tourism, but it's quite different. It's called, what was it called? My Wife and Me in Italy. This one here was when I went to the Marquesian Islands, a wonderful world where I suddenly realized that they had a huge problem with imperialism, and we are actually all going back as tourists, and it's sort of, the whole world we're trying to change it, but it's still falling apart, really.
But these are sizable pieces.
They're 6 foot by 4 foot.
Wow. Biggies.
Yeah, they take about 3 months to do.
3 months.
Yeah. 3 to 4 months.
And so, how many will you be working on? Are you working on one now? As you're here,
as I'm here, I've got one. I'm definitely working on. It's about the celebration. It's about 25 years of festivities.
And
lots of naked bodies.
Oh.
Censor.
Quickly buy some now.
Lots of naked bodies, but with lots of only accessories. I'm sort of putting watches and sort of garters and sort of little. It's a bit risque, but I'm enjoying it. It keeps me amused.
I can imagine. Well, we all need something.
We all need something.
We all have our time alone.
Exactly.
And you get a lot of it.
I get a lot of it.
So when you're here doing it, where are you able to? You have to have a pretty sizable place to do the painting.
In my apartment, I buy a big board, a sort of an 8 foot by 6 foot board, and then I put the canvas on it, and I put it by the window. I put a bit of plastic on the floor. My studio.
Because there's it's called Vera, or what is it, the workshop there's like a shared artists.
Oh, okay.
Huge. Oh gosh, I wish I had the name of it. VERA. Maybe I'm wrong, but down in Seattle, I'm sure. I'm
okay.
sure it's in a lot of places. And there's
Okay.
a woman down there by the name of Betty Jo Costanza, and she does this. All her work that she paints in, is relative to water. So it's just all about flowing water.
Okay.
And she just is enthralled with it. She's done it all her life. I had her on the show.
Wow.
And we bought a couple pieces from her.
Mm.
And when you buy them, you sign it, you'll hang them a certain way in your home and
Okay.
so on. That she want. No, we didn't get one of her huge ones, but more than anything, it was the story behind what she was trying to do. Because when we loved the art, we were like, wow, that's really great, and then we're like, why? Like my question is, why the hell are you staring at wood or drawing pictures?
Yeah.
I don't get it.
And what did she say?
She just said, I'm just drawn to it. I'm drawn to just the light, the beauty of it. And some of it is tied into some, maybe the orca, but it's not like nature. You know what I mean? It transcends nature. When you're finally looking at it, you're observing just this mixture of colors.
Wow.
That are to you beautiful, and then when you look at the more, it's one of these things that are changing. You're constantly looking at it, like something like this. I'm sure
mine has a lot of detail. When you look, you start to find more and more things in it. When you can see it from one point of view, but then you can also start to go into it. And there are people who say to me, "Oh, I had no idea. I looked at it for ages and ages, and I started to see other things." Which is, I mean, my thing is telling stories. That's for sure. Everyone is different. Everyone has their perception. Everyone has their way of expressing themselves, and that's what I find fascinating.
So now,
yes, back on.
We need some more of that ukulele.
Here we go.
Music.
All of me, why not take all of me? Oh yeah. Can't you see I'm no good without you? I said, take my lips. I want to lose them. Take my arms. I'm never going to use them again. Yeah. The voice is a little bit not warmed up.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Growly.
But now, so here we are. We're at Teatro Zinzani. You've traveled all around the world. Now, there is one particular act you put on that you become quite famous for. Okay, and I don't require a prop by any means, but I'm not asking you to use this, or we could just explain it. But the ping pong ball.
The ping pong ball.
The ping pong ball.
Ping pong.
Now, how did you develop that?
Well, with the Mushroom Troupe, back to Michael Wansborough, 1978, we were an ensemble. I was actually employed in the beginning as a musician, believe it or not.
Really?
Yes. My thing was music. And there was I was the musician, there was an actor, there was a mime, and there was, what was the other person? And a dancer.
Okay.
And so my specialty was that, and we would bring in as an ensemble that Michael wanted to improve us, so he would bring in people to give us basic trainings. And one of them was a juggler, and I started juggling, and I became quite good with my hands. And then I like to be different, so I was not really interested in just being a juggler. And all of a sudden, I was doing 5 objects, one of which was a little ball. I was doing big, no, I think it was 4. I was doing a football, a lacrosse ball, a tennis ball, and a ping pong ball. And I was trying to work out things with that. And all of a sudden, and I don't know quite what happened, I suddenly realized I could put this ping pong ball in my mouth and pop it and catch it. And I went, this is what I want to do. I didn't, not consciously, but that's what obviously happened, because I don't really remember quite why. But then all the other juggling I was doing, cigar boxes, clubs, all that went out the back door, and it was just ping pong balls. I went, this is what I can do. And this routine with the years developed.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You don't have a ping pong ball with you, do you?
I don't.
Well, anyway, all that aside, the ping pong ball, if anybody gets a chance, I just think it's so much fun to watch.
And I say, isn't it fascinating what you can do for a living?
It is.
And we all have our odd things.
Well, that's part of what this whole thing is about.
Yeah,
and listening to you, that when you say something like, I did all this juggling with all these different things, and then I found a home, and we won't get into it in any detail, but a ping pong ball. And if perchance you get to see Mr. PP anywhere with the kisses using a ping pong ball, it is fascinating. And I think you do it at the show at a point where now we have gotten to know you. You know, we're now, you've introduced yourself into the show. You're now a part of it, but you haven't fully. I think you've broken out the ukulele at one point.
I've done a little thing with a hoop. I've told a little story.
Yes, you have. And then
I do a didgeridoo.
Oh yeah, you do that. Now what is that you do? You do all these little.
The art of circular breathing.
This
is where you blow out through your mouth and in through your nose.
Oh, circular.
At the same time.
Oh, really?
Watching very carefully.
What's it?
But the air is always coming out the mouth. That's the trick. And so you can make this, the didgeridoo you play, it's a drone instrument. And when I was, did I mention when I was in Melbourne State College doing my musical course, I did a concert with frogs, I did them with snails, and I started using drone. And the man who was teaching me was he was a didgeridoo man who said that the didgeridoo is a great drone. He was interested in drone music.
A drone.
Drone meaning a sound that continues.
Okay.
He was interested
like a drone as opposed to what today.
Yeah,
we think of drones flying a drone.
Sorry,
yes.
right. No, a drone is as a continual sound. And so he gave me a basic lesson when I was driving off to do this concert, actually in the middle of nowhere. It was a 6-hour drive with my snails in my box off to do this concert. And so on the way, he told me, go this and that. And as I was driving along, and by the time when I got there, I understood the concept. And so then this...
and then you refine it and refine it.
Then I refined it and refined it.
Wow. And has there been anything in the last... What would be a newer thing that you think you've sort of maybe focused on or started thinking, a newer little
harmonica?
Piece? Oh, you did play the harmonica.
Chromatic harmonica. That's my latest thing that I'm working on. Since COVID, I've picked this up, and I sort of do half an hour every morning of trying to get my... Because it's quite difficult, it's very good for the brain. You've got to blow, push in sometimes, or suck in. It's quite a coordination thing.
Yeah. Well, I know.
I don't know if you've ever studied the chromatic harmonica, but it's quite difficult. But I'm enjoying it, and I'm getting my scales going, E flat and sort of C sharp, and
so now, you said you traveled all over the world, but the one of them was going to the Blenheim Castle.
Oh, yes. Well, I was working in New York with this group, Pomp, Duck and Circumstance. Pomp, Duck, that was the German group that was the founder of Theaterzinzani's, where Theaterzinzani's idea came from.
Okay.
And when I was in New York performing with them there, I was there for 5 months as well. We had the Prince of Hanover came to see the show.
Yeah.
And he fell in love with Mr. PP because I think I became his jester.
Yeah. I love the way you mentioned that.
He saw me as himself, I think.
Yeah.
Slightly eccentric, very polite. He was delighted by me. He sort of came up, I want you to come to England to perform at Blenheim Palace for me. And I said, well, I'm on a contract here. He said, doesn't matter. I'll bring you on the Concorde. What day do you have off? And he organised with the thing. So I flew on the Concorde there, did the show for 7 people, the Prince of Hanover, the Duke of Marlborough, the woman...
Monaco.
The
Princess of Monaco.
Princess of Monaco, and 2 other people. I arrive, he's so excited. Wonderful. You go down here, come up and do the show. Did my little 20-minute spot. Oh, love it. Next week, I want you to come to Paris. So I became his jester. It was unbelievable.
Now, I looked up the Prince of Hanover.
Yeah.
He's a pretty eccentric.
Oh.
He was he liked to have a party.
Oh, he loved parties.
Yeah.
And he liked pride. You see, I like intimacy. And so for me, having 7 people is not a problem.
Yeah.
So a lot of performers want, big. So when Theaterzinzani isn't full, that actually doesn't worry me at all. I like it when I can, have more contact with each person.
Wow. And so I read about the Prince of Hanover some. In his latter days, I think he got himself in a little bit of trouble.
I'm sure they all do.
He did. Again, being a historian, all of a sudden I read about him, so I started looking him up.
Okay,
and
right,
I'm like,
right.
Princess of Hanover, and then I'm reading in the tabloids.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, they followed him.
yes.
Oh my, he was a bad boy.
Oh yes, I'm sure.
But
they
he
all
looked like he had fun getting around there, and I ended up getting into this horrible fight with his son, and all this terrible stuff. So now you're living in Montreal now.
Yes, married to a Québécoise.
A Québécois.
Québécois.
And
I say Québécoise.
Québécois. So are you? Would you consider French? No, you're English speaking.
Yes.
Is your primary language.
Yes.
But
Our daughter is bilingual. We speak French at home.
do you really?
Mais oui.
Ah.
Ça, c'est très important pour moi.
Oui.
Non.
Je ne parle pas français, hein?
Non, vous parlez très bien. J'ai entendu. Oui, je comprends très bien. Qu'est-ce que vous avez dit?
Un pas.
Un peu.
That's you have been doing this for 25 years.
With Théâtre Zinzani.
With Théâtre Zinzani, but for yet another 20 elsewhere out there, hither and yon.
Hither and yon, absolutely.
Hither and yon.
Absolutely.
Okay, and now, but how? I mean, Théâtre's got to keep this thing going for 25 years, which means two things. You have to keep it going for 25 years, and you have to somehow stay engaged with, I'm presuming, because I know there's different themes that they do.
Yes, and they're different. There's a whole sort of pool of performers that they work with, because we're all nomadic, and so we go away, we come back. It's not the same group that is always together. Théâtre Zinzani has, I don't know how many people, but Norman Langille, who's the sort of the boss, he has a réseau of people that he communicates with, and he says, well, I need to have an aerial act, I need to have a juggler, I need to have a singer, I need to have this, and he wants to change it so that you have to change the show, because if the audience comes back, they don't want to see the same show.
Yeah.
But the same concept, but they...
Yeah, I've seen it enough to know that.
So the people within it are always changing. And we do contracts 3 months, 5 months, or 6 months.
So it must be when you come into a new group, there must be a dynamic that you have to adjust to.
Absolutely. And some work better than others. Generally, people are open to working together.
Because they're all nomadic, like
they're
you
all
said.
nomadic, and we become the family. I mean,
Okay.
as I say in the beginning, I've been working with this family since for 25 years. It's a family. And that's a very important thing, I think, for a lot of performers, is to have a family, because we are nomadic. We don't really, our families. Local families don't exist, so they become your sort of.
But you must at different times through the 25 years performed with some of the same.
Oh yes, absolutely. Kevin and I were in the show at the beginning. I mean, we're getting old.
Yes,
said
you
Father
are.
Williams, the young man said. But there are new people who come in. But it's nice. I think it's nice when it's all about the mix. And Norman and selects who he thinks is. It's nice to have a variety. Some people who are young and really, and some people who are older and have another point of view.
The folks who do the rings and
all these. We have wonderful
aerials.
people. We have aerialists. We have a woman who does handstands and shoots a bow and arrow with her feet. I mean, and bursts a balloon. I mean, we have a woman who does a circular hoop. We have trapeze artists. We have all sorts, and we have trios doing roller skates, and
I know
it's amazing. You have to come along and see it. It's hard
it's
to
just
describe.
such a small little area where they start running around setting something up, and then someone starts to do it, and you're like, oh my God, they're right there.
They're right
don't
on
fall.
top of it. It's very, very intimate. You, as an audience member, are right in the center of this thing, and you're being touched by the whole of this world. I think it's very special. I mean, you have Cirque du Soleil, which is spectacular, but it's not intimate. Théâtre Zinzani is very intimate and spectacular.
I believe so.
And I think that's one of its big qualities, is that it's intimate.
That's why we have repeatedly gone to it. But now the show ends.
The show ends.
Now it's just Tim
And his
his
paintings.
And how do you calm down?
Oh, this is after. I thought you said after the season.
No,
oh,
no,
after
after the show.
Right. Well, after things like painting does help me calm down.
But I mean, when you come home in the evening, are you a little charged up after each show?
I am a little bit, for sure. We all are. But I like to sort of, I do Tai Chi and I do my yoga.
Oh, do you?
Yes, I haven't gone down the line of sort of alcohol. I decided, because I did musicals for many years in Australia where I saw all these friends of mine who just went down the tube drinking, and it really killed them.
Oh no, I went through.
Heavy drinking.
I've been sober for 36 years.
Right. Yeah. Well, I had the same thing. I decided that alcohol was not going to be for me because I'm obsessive.
Oh, me too.
You have to be careful.
Yeah, I'm a small business guy. Ran my own business. Traveled all over. Made a pretty good buck. But driven. Go. Became very focused on something, and that can be my curse.
Yes, absolutely. It's a blessing and a curse.
Yeah. When I was younger, I ended up in detox, rehab, the whole thing. And then just realized this is a disaster.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I will get nowhere, and I would not. Much like you've perfected a skill,
and you want to maintain it. You can't kill it.
Yeah, and if your mind isn't, I think people who are, I won't. This may be a broader statement, but I do think some people who are using recreationally, it's fine. But I think a lot of people use medications, drugs, whatever it may be, is truly as a they're dealing with something much deeper.
Yes, absolutely.
And it's dulling the use of that is dulling some of their skills elsewhere.
Being at peace with yourself is most important.
Very hard to do.
Very hard to do, but it's something to work on. And that's what I try and spend my time trying to be at peace, appreciating what I have and who's around me.
Okay.
And that helps me after work. That's the same thing, coming, just sort of maintaining that sort of peace within. I think to me, it's essential.
Well, it is the quest.
Yes, absolutely.
It is.
And it's not easy, but it's something to, that's the dream, my dream is to sort of, to go down that path.
I suspect you and I could wax on philosophically because I tend to get myself, I could get trapped in these, enjoyable sort of these existential discussions about who, what, where, when, why, how. The only problem is generally they don't make me feel better. Because there's this exploration of God, I'm off a tangent here, but sometimes this exploration you can get to the point where it's too much. We're here today.
Yeah,
this is what we have.
Being here in the moment, you see, just being now, that is what I try to do. And with that, you appreciate your sound, you appreciate who you are and who's around you.
Isn't that interesting? So now, you finish up with teatro, and then do you have something already set up? Are you ready to go? Or are you sort of waiting for something or assessing something?
I have a duo show that I've been working on with a very small, I'm quite long and thin. I have a small fat friend called Joe DePaul who's actually works a lot with Zinzani. He's one of their directors as well.
Really?
He's a very lovely man, and he's actually in New York opening a show. And when his season is over, we have a duo show that we've taken to France, to Italy, to Spain, around Canada, and we have this project. But there's no dates firmed at the moment. But that, and there's work in Montreal that I could do. I'm just sort of, there's nothing signed though.
And then will you take some time off, I presume, occasionally? Just
Absolutely. I'm going to go to Australia at some time with my wife. We're going to go and see my father, who's 96.
Wow.
Spend some time with him. He's still driving. He still lives by himself. So we're going to go and see him.
Isn't that nice? But listen, let's finalize. So you've spoken about it, but how did you get to where you are and why? I mean, what was the, what is it about you that got you here with me talking about this?
I think follow it. I put it down to following your heart. I really do. Being in the moment. When I'm in the moment, it's like with the mushroom troupe. When I'm in the moment, met this man, and all of a sudden I get these feelings that it's to me, my body resonates. There's like an energy that starts going through it. And that to me is a sign that I'm in the right place, or I'm being where I am. And so I don't know, but I do believe that we meet people not always by total by coincidence. We do meet people because we're there to share something.
Well,
I don't know. It's a very weird concept, but I think we are connected. I think we are all a family in some ways, and we're connected to each other. In Indonesia, you go and you sit in a shop where you're supposed to be buying something, but the deal is you talk to the person. It's not about buying. It's about the relationship.
that's what it is.
It's exactly that.
And I worked for the Italians from Milan for years,
Okay.
and I learned a great lesson from them, and that was, it's a relationship.
Yeah.
And they wanted us to work for them they were an Italian company. They wanted American young men who didn't know anything about packaging. Men, of course, they were allowed to say back then. And they didn't want them to be Italian.
Okay.
And their attitude was, we're going to teach you
Right.
how to be Italian salesmen as Americans in America. We want the face of our company to be this.
Yes.
Mark Howley,
Yeah.
USA.
Yeah.
But I learned.
with the sensitivity.
Yeah, and I learned so much from them.
values.
I love their clothing. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
My boss brought me over there and made me get a custom jacket.
Oh.
Look at me, a Milanese. But anyway, with that.
But I think the pursuit of money is not good.
No.
I think it's the pursuit of being true to yourself. I don't know what I don't know what the right word is.
The only thing I would say is if you're pursuing something like you have down a path, and this is the thing.
Love for it.
It is, but the thing that I don't think younger people nowadays, they'll say, oh, they're not this, they're a different generation. I don't think any of that. No. The reason I like to have someone like you on or talk to me is that, no, what we do need to do is follow when that little tingle comes down you and let it tingle
Listen
and follow it. Yeah.
Listen and follow.
And don't be so, I think today there is a challenge with all the openness of avenues for information coming into you that can only cause confusion. And I think someone to hear your story is important. No, it doesn't all make sense. It doesn't all just come to you like that. You followed something and then it went to here, to here, to here, to here, to here, for all weird reasons.
Yeah,
And
you
now
keep following.
Well, listen, thank you so much. It's
My
great,
pleasure.
Tim. And once again, Tim Tyler, Tetra Zanzani, Mr. PP.
Yes.
And
Prim
thank
and
you so
proper.
much.
Not penis.
Well, penis, we'll take it. What the hell? Why not? We're not getting too, I don't think we're going to blush too much.
I don't blush anymore.
Now, with that in mind, we need some form of a way to say goodbye by possibly you singing a song, possibly me singing a song.
I think it's your turn.
Really? Oh, let me think. What's that
We'll
song?
meet again.
We'll meet again. I bid you adieu. I don't know what the hell I'm
So
singing.
long, farewell, Auf Wiedersehen, goodbye.
Oh, play. No, so I must hear that on the ukulele.
Oh, I don't know if I
Oh,
can play.
please. Anything. Just a farewell song, please.
Goodbye. Goodbye. We're leaving you to die. Goodbye. Goodbye. Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Thank you for listening to The Mark Halley Show. If you found this story as intriguing as we did, give us a like, share the episode, and subscribe. For other stories like this one, you can check us out wherever you stream your content at The Mark Howley Show. New episodes every other Friday. Adios.